What is going on? You got the nice chilled sounds happening in the background. I hope you guys are having a beautiful start to your weekend. We're going to be kicking off this episode in a couple of minutes. So do let me know if you are coming in live, guys. I would love to see who's coming along and joining the discussion that we're going to have this morning, which is going to be quite a robust one, I'd think. So let me know in the comments if you are indeed coming into this one live, and we'll kickstart in a couple of minutes with episode 80. Hello, Tezza. How are you, my brother? What do you got planned for the weekend, Tez? What's the happenings, mate? Good morning, Carls. Hello. You're always here. I like that. I do apologise for my pathetic fashion show, guys. See all the stuff behind me. Good morning, Danny, my boy. How are you, Dan? I hope you're well, brother. Hey, Renee. How are you, love? Good to have you in here, Nat. We're going to be kickstarting this in about 90 seconds, I reckon, guys. 80 already. I don't know what 80 means. 80 what? 80 what, Carls? Hey, Kimmy. How are you, mate? Good to see you in here, Kim. Tez, gym session now followed by some family time today. Ooh, that's nice, Tez. I like it, bro. I like it. Yeah, everyone loves Renee. She's a Renee, I love you, 80. I still don't get what 80 means. We're going to kickstart this one in 30 seconds. Oh, yes. Episode 80. Yeah, 100%. It won't be long until we're at the magic 100 mark, and then it's all good times, right? What about you guys? The rest of you, what do you got planned for the weekend? What's happening, Renee? What's happening this weekend? Kimmy, what's going on for the weekend? Danny boy, what's happening? Tell me. Don't let Tez have all the fun. Guys, we're going to start this episode in 1 minute. So if you are watching live, make sure you do say hi. It's really nice for me to know who I'm actually speaking to at the time. So if you're coming in a little bit later, let me know that you're coming in. Let me know who you are, what you're doing. Work. Yeah, Danny boy. Hustle. I like it, bro. I like it. All right. I think we're nearly ready to rock and roll here, team. All right, so make sure we're turned off music. Hey, Shano, how are ya? Billy Kemp, what's happening, mate? I hope you're good. All right, I'm driving to Jacob's footy practice. He's in the Andrew Johns Cup squad. Wow, how good's that? Renault's on the house, Danny says. Hey, Josh McCarthy, how are you, my boy? I hope you're well, mate. JC Sky, how are you, mate? Hey, Jules. You know what? We've got some kings in here. Nearly 20 people watching live, so we're going to get started. Now, Morning King, I'm hoping that is the one and only Nicky Duggan. As soon as he's not authorised StreamYard, I can't tell. So let's turn this down, and I think we're pretty much ready to go, guys. So let's do it. All right, count down with me, team, on the 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs. And in today's episode, we are going to be doing the podcast version of a post that I made through the week. And the post was made because we had a number of our Better Body Academy clients ask this question repeatedly in private messages. So I wrote the post, but I did want to really elaborate on this with a podcast episode because I'm very, very sure there is a ton of other people out there that are suffering the same challenge and would like some feedback or some advice, perhaps, if you want to take it that way, on how to go about it. Now, this episode is sponsored by Moderna and Spikevax or Pfizer. So I'll let you guys know that this week has been shit house. So Cords, myself, a little baby Ocean, the whole family's gone down with the Rona. But the good thing is, this means that once the 14 days are up, we can effectively leave the country. So in a way, it's kind of good to get it out and have, they say, a level of what? A month protection or something like that. So look, there's an upside to everything. And one of the things that I did think about this week is, you know, like we take our health for granted, and it's not until something smacks us in the ass that we get tested, right? And so I really do think that it's important that if you kind of haven't started your journey yet, you ask yourself, well, where would I be if something bad happened to me? You know, would I be in a position where I could fight against this thing? Certainly for us, it's just it's business as usual. Got a bit of a throat, and if anything, it was just a few days down in the bunker by myself, which wasn't too bad of a thing. Guys, I want to properly thank you before we kick off the episode for supporting the podcast. We're up to episode 80, and it's really starting to take an effect. I want to shout out two people, two of our clients, one long-term and one new, Miss Michelle Follett, who appeared on the podcast as the first female ever to be interviewed as one of our existing clients. We had a young lass by the name of Brooke Witchard, a chick that joined this week. I shouldn't say chick, a woman that joined this week because she listened to the episode with Michelle Follett, and she was also seeing Christy Keenan's transformation. I think it's really, really cool what can happen when you start to talk about things to people, your successes, your wins, and how you're challenging the status quo. I think that's just super inspirational. So well done, Michelle, and also well done, Brooke, for ripping the scab off. Last thing that I want to say, guys, is I reckon that Better Body Academy today is humming. I like the fact that in 2022, our men are almost like catching back up to the women, which is really, really cool to see. One of the boys put up a post in our group through the week and said, is this place pumping at the moment or what? And there was a ton of responses there. I don't think it's quite caught the vibes of the women yet, but it's really, really good to see. I want to let you know that, we released the kind of 24-hour merchandise sale, and the fact that so many of you jump on, like for me, it's not about money. It's about you guys wearing our brand, and I know that we're going to take over this thing. So the more people we have wearing our stuff, like this stuff, it's just so cool, and I want to thank you guys from the bottom of our heart. It really means the world, not because it's nice, fancy clothes, but because you're willing to put a logo on your skin that represents what you are part of. And that makes the world of difference to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Okay, let's get stuck into today's episode. So your partner doesn't support you. So I'm going to go through a few levels of this, guys, to really kind of set it up and then what we should do about it and elaborate on the post that I obviously made. So firstly, I want to talk about how this typically presents, because I think instantly when I made this post, it kind of got the eyes of a lot of women, but actually I've received the question off many, many men before about what do I do when my partner doesn't support me. The way that I see it is kind of, it appears differently or presents differently is this. When the kind of, what do we call it, a complaint is coming from the woman, now these are of course generalizations, but when the complaint's coming from the woman, it's generally, my husband is self-sabotaging me, okay? So he's undermining what I'm doing. Whereas when the complaint's coming from the man about his wife, it's not as much that he's being self-sabotaged or being sabotaged. It's more that he feels that he is making his wife feel bad. Do you see the difference? In either of the two circumstances, and of course there's same-sex couples here, so that's a different fit as well. But in both cases, what's happening is one partner feels like perhaps they are moving forward. It's not that the other partner is moving backwards. It's the fact that because you're moving forward, they feel like they've moved backwards. They haven't moved backwards necessarily. Maybe they have. But just by you moving forward, you haven't done anything to them. It's how they feel as a result of you moving forward. I want to kind of give you a visual for this because I really do think that trying to understand this from the perspective of your partner will help give you a bit of a feel onto how to address it. Okay? So I want you to imagine a chessboard, right? And you got two chess pieces, and they are, 2 squares apart. It doesn't matter. When one partner moves forward 1 square, now there is 3 squares apart. And then move forward another square, now there is 4 squares apart. The original partner, who's not on a transformation journey of any kind, they are still on the same square. They haven't moved backwards, but the gap between the two has perhaps increased. And this is what I believe causes the friction. And so what typically happens is when that gap in a relationship starts to open up, there's almost like this crabs in the bucket thing happening. Have you guys heard of the analogy of crabs in the bucket? It's when someone in a crowd starts to do well, and kind of like crabs in a bucket, when a crab starts to make its, you got a ton of crabs in a bucket, one makes its grand escape, and all the other crabs try to pull them back. That's almost like what's happening here. And a lot of the time, I don't actually think it is conscious from your partner, or maybe it's you. I don't think it's conscious. It's happening because there's a feeling of fear or threatening that's involved. And so why is this actually a problem? Why do we need to deal with this? Well, the first and most obvious reason is that, like any problem in a relationship or challenge in a relationship, if it continues to exist, it's going to continue to cause friction. These problems don't just exist around disagreements around a health journey, of course. These can include finances or purchases or the kids. And if they don't get reconciled, then they continue to kind of boil. And you imagine a boiling pot with a lid on. Eventually, the lid flips off and the liquid spills everywhere. And that tends to happen in relationships, right? I'm sure a lot of us know this all too well. So the first thing is that it creates friction and we've got to do something about it. So that's the first reason that we have to do something about it. The second, and really, you could think of this as a selfish reason, but I don't think it's selfish at all. You are starting your journey. You are listening to this podcast because you want a better life. And you have connected that your physical health is a stepping stone to better mental health. And when you have better mental health, that's a stepping stone into betterment in other areas of your life. Better confidence, better self-esteem, which then leads to better money, better relationships, better job. This is all a cascade, a domino effect. And so if we don't get to the bottom of this friction that's in the relationship associated with someone moving forward and perhaps the other person not, what's going to end up happening is, one, it's going to create ongoing friction, or two, it's going to lead to you giving up because you feel bad and because you've been made to feel bad, which will derail your efforts and cause feelings in you of worthlessness. Do you guys understand this, or do you feel this? I really can see how this particularly plagues women. Men, again, tend to look at things from a solutions base, and they think, how can I fix my woman, right? How can I get her on board? Whereas on the other side of it, it's kind of like, for the woman, it's like, why am I being made to feel bad? And that is a really, really difficult thing to process. So that's kind of how it's packaged up and the reason why it's a problem. Now, what I really do think is that in any circumstance, a great strategy to be able to deal with things is to try to diagnose why they're a problem or why it's happening in the first place. So when you go to your doctor, right, he asks you a number of questions because what he's trying to do is get to the bottom of why the thing that you're suffering from is happening, right? Well, in the same way, you don't sit your partner down and, start grilling them. You have to jump into their shoes with some empathy, and just try to ask yourself, why might it be that they are trying to self-sabotage me? Why could that possibly be? Put yourself in their shoes, okay? And when you put yourself in their shoes, maybe some answers might come up. When anyone decides to change, they move forward, the other person feels behind. And so if they feel behind, maybe it's not something that you're doing, it's a feeling that they are having. Well, then maybe they are scared. Maybe they feel that you might leave them. And these might sound far-fetched and ridiculous, but they're not. If you're in a relationship where, you don't talk about things to a level of detail, there could be this really obvious feeling. It's like, it's not jealousy, but it's like, are they going to leave me? Is that why they're getting fit? Are they getting fit to get more men's attention or more women's attention? Like, this is a really challenging topic to discuss, which is why I wanted to follow up with a podcast. So maybe they don't think that you're going to leave them physically. Maybe they just think that you're moving away from them mentally. And I have been in relationships where I felt my partner was moving away from me mentally, or maybe I was moving away from them mentally. And I'm sure that everyone knows how that feels. It's an icky feeling when you know the writing's on the wall, right? And so I think that there's a role here for you as the person that is moving forward to step into their shoes and let them know that this is about you. It's not about them. You're not judging them. You have come to the decision that your health is valuable to you. And so therefore, you're going to take control of your health for you, which in fact will actually benefit them in the long run, because if you're a better partner, whether you're a man or a woman, this is going to put you in a position to be able to love more and fulfill the role that you want to play in your relationship better. It's just hard to see that initially for them. Now, why else might they not support you? Maybe it's literally that they haven't yet consciously put a value on their health. And that's a very real thing. Let's just take a relationship like mine now. I have a fantastic relationship with my lovely lass, and she might spend a large sum of money on a handbag, and I just go, you serious? Like, fuck, what's that? Yet I'll drop $700 on a new thing just so I can switch my cameras really nice and quickly on a live, and she'd be like, Jace, is that really necessary? So we have different perceptions of value, and that doesn't make things right or wrong. Women spend money on certain things, men spend money on certain things, and if that doesn't line up, it might just be that they are looking at something that you are putting money towards that they don't value, and then questioning, why are you doing that? And so if this doesn't make any conscious sense to them and they don't understand your reasonings, then again, that's going to cause friction. I just think it's important for us to actually take a step back and understand that part of the reason that they may be consciously or unconsciously sabotaging your efforts may not be malicious. It may not be malicious. It may be that they don't understand, they have different beliefs as you, or something else in between. And so what we need to do is be able to open up a conversation. I remember back into my corporate job whenever anything went wrong, we'd have a 3-hour discussion in the team about it. You know what meetings get like? And it's like, oh, fuck, is this meeting still going? And then you end up getting to the end of the meeting and you say, so we're going to put this down to a communication issue, right? And it always ends up the same way. If you've ever been involved in boardroom meetings, so this is a communication issue, right? Of course it's a bloody communication issue. It always comes down to a communication issue. If we are not having open, transparent, honest, vulnerable conversations in our relationships aren't going to grow. And I'm just going to be really, really honest with you guys here, okay? These conversations don't always go the way that you want them. They're not always pretty conversations. The intention behind them might be good, but we have to be really careful. And a classic example of this is I can be really vulnerable and honest with you. Cords and I, with Baby Ocean, went for a walk before, and I was feeling quite stressed about a number of things that I need to get done before we leave to go over to Australia. And I didn't attack Cordia at all, but I started to talk to her about these things. She's like, what are we going to do about it? It's just like, and it gets quite emotional. Okay. This doesn't mean it's bad. But these feelings have to come out and they have to be on the table, because if you continue to exist as two saucepans that are just boiling away with the lid on, fucking blow up, this is not going to work out good for anyone. So it's really, really important that we have a conversation, and I would suggest that it's a conversation that we don't have off the cuff. In other words, hey babe, just across while you're having dinner, hey babe, just, how you keep fucking with my gym schedule? That's just not a conversation that you want to start. The conversation has to be, hey, listen, I've been thinking about something in relation to my own journey. Can we sit down tonight with a cup of tea and actually just plan out some time with no kids and have a discussion? Yeah, sure. And anyone that would push back on that it's not quite you've been reasonable. So ask for it in a reasonable way. And then when you're in that conversation, be honest, be vulnerable. Talk to your partner about why you have decided to start your transformation. And this transformation doesn't just have to happen in a physical transformation. This might be a transformation that you are having because you're sick of having no money, and so you decide to consult a financial advisor. This might be a conversation that you reach out to a therapist or counselor because you're sick of being in a relationship that is mediocre because the two parties aren't putting the effort in. It is completely reasonable to sit down and talk to your partner and say, hey, listen, I want to tell you why I have started inspecting or looking further into starting a journey, and this is the reason why. And it's really important, I think, that you hold your ground in that conversation, because it's not about them. It's not about how they feel. It's about how you feel. And you need to be clear about what you want to say to them. And let's just take the likely reasoning that you started your transformation journey because you were feeling maybe a bit overweight, you were feeling like you were struggling, you were sick of having no energy, you were sick of waking up in the morning and going, fucking Monday, I'm just so unmotivated, I see all these people around me that are motivated and I'm just don't feel it, I'm sick of this. How many of us feel like that, right? You're able to feel that for a day or two, but if you constantly feel like that, you need to do something about it. And so you start a transformation journey and you've done something about it. But if your partner and you haven't opened up to him or her and they have no idea that you feel that way, well, then they're blind to it. And so all they can see is you spending the money. So if you open up and you tell them, this is how I feel, they can't argue with your feelings. Your feelings are your feelings. And we know that in any circumstance, you have a decision to make if you are feeling a certain way. You can either accept that that feeling is the feeling that you're going to feel, or stop complaining and do something about it. Sitting in the fence in the middle rarely gets any result. And so you're doing something about it. You're opening up to them and you're telling them, look, this is how I feel about this certain thing. Now, in doing so, if you are transparent and there is no underground agenda to try to push them into a corner or to change them, then you're well within your right to hold your ground. Would you agree? Is how you feel. Now, any loving partner should see the look on your face when you passionately discuss how you feel and say, okay, babe, now I understand. That makes sense. Thank you for explaining it to me. How can I help you going forward? And then at this point, you talk to your partner about how important it is for you to have their support, and that you're not trying to judge them, push them onto anything that they don't want to do. Tell them gently, I'd love if you come on board and do it with me. But if you're not ready for that at the moment, then that's completely cool. It's your life. we've got to understand that we're never, ever, ever going to be able to operate in the way that we want to live our life if we are putting a cap on ourselves because we're scared to disappoint other people. Now, I do want to look at, finally, the other side to this conversation. The reality is that in some relationships, and this is hard to talk about, there is just fundamentally greater things going on here that are nothing actually to do with the fitness transformation. They are more to do with the fact that I don't like you being able to do your own thing. When I got engaged to Claudia, I got engaged to a woman that was the complete opposite of every woman that I've ever dated before. I got engaged to a woman who doesn't want to be a mum as her primary role. I got engaged to a woman who is creative and fucking spacey at times and wants to just go and do things over here. Sometimes I can't understand those things, but that doesn't make her wrong. And in the same way, if you're in a partnership and you are being the person that you are and it's incompatible, that's a really tough thing to be able to deal with after you've got married or you've got engaged or you've got kids. And so that's something that you're going to have to work through independently of fitness. In some relationships, it becomes a control issue where one partner tries to control the other, and more often the controlling partner is doing so because they're scared. And it's natural, as we talked about, that they feel scared, but that doesn't mean that you should hold back on your dreams, what you want to do, because the other person in the relationship hasn't got a grip on theirs. And that's a really hard thing to talk about. And if it continues, and you're going to continue to sacrifice things in your life just to please someone else, I hate to say this, but that's a relationship that's really going to only end one way. Now, I really do want to end on a higher note because my belief is that that's the far minority of cases. Putting myself in the man's position, what I certainly do know is this. Most men are so busy in their minds trying to solve the world. I could tell you that straight away. Their biggest fear is their family going without. So they're so up here thinking about how all of the solutions in solving the world is going to be done, whereas you're, as a woman, often are down in your body thinking about how you feel, and so the two wavelengths are just being missed. Does this make sense, guys? Let me know in the comments if this makes sense. They say that men are for Mars, women are for Venus or whatever it is, and this is the exact thing that I mean. And so what we need to do is get onto the same page with this stuff. Open up a dialogue, have a conversation. And if you see the dark side of success starting to come to the surface, well, this is exactly why you need a cheer squad. This is why we created a community around the Better Body Academy. This is why you need a place where you feel supported. Very rare is it that you can, in public, in your friends network, group, family, very rare is it that you are okay to claim your wins, claim your successes, claim your financial gains, claim your health gains, without feeling like someone's going to chip you for it. But these are things that you should be proud of, right? So what you need is a community or a network to be able to celebrate those things. They are successes in your life. So there's two parts to that. If you don't have a community around you, well then get inside the BBA. You need a community. But the second part to it is when you look at your environment, if your environment is full of people that try to pull you back and you do not do something about it, this includes friends and family. If you don't do something about it, you're going to continue to be the product of your environment. The people that truly break through are the people that decide, you know what, I'm no longer going to tolerate this anymore because I realize that at the end of my life, when I look back, and hopefully it's with gratitude and love, I will do so knowing that I lived the life that I wanted to live and on my terms, not trying to please everyone along the way or having this social fear of being judged or failing along the way. Does that make sense, guys? So, a big topic to deal with on a morning. You can probably see that I'm pretty passionate about this stuff because I started up the Better Body Academy because I believe that health is a God-given right to everyone. But you don't just get it. You got to earn it. Okay? You got to earn it. And that's why it's so valuable when you have it. So it means that if you're in a situation where you're having to kind of put things on the back burner a little bit, maybe to get through some tough times, okay, but now you've got to stand up and ask for it. In a relationship, there is two equals, not a superior and an inferior, and the superior one just beats the other one into submission. And I don't mean that physically, I mean, mentally. Guys, I hope this has helped. Feel free to reach out if you've got any further questions, or if you'd like to make any comments, certainly do so in the live version. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, and I will see you in the next episode.